welcome back once again to the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series here, live from Montreal, Canada, as we get into our round of 16 matches, just past the halfway mark now, as we continue forth with the final circuit event of the year. We know that you're sad. We know that you want more. We got plenty more left this weekend, and don't worry, the global finals, well, they're not that far away. I'm Nathaniel, your host, joined by In Control in Rotterdam, as we move into a TvT match, shaking things up a bit. Did you guys have fun with that Haas match? Kevin, you seemed so enamored by it.
I was very intrigued. I felt very emotionally invested in it.
Wow.
The funny thing is, because I see a lot of things, and I'm like, that's all really good, Haas. And then you see certain things, and you're like, how can you be so good at this and do other things so silly, so to speak? And then I'm being very polite, but it was fun, a little bit of an emotional roller coaster, but I am kind of happy to see time advance. It's awesome, man. Finally a Chinese player again in the top 8, Nate. It's been years since we've seen that.
And absolutely fantastic. In Control, I heard you're a huge fanboy of Time.
He's been like I said, it was a year ago or so that Total Biscuit on Shoutcraft talked about Time as a player that even on the Korean ladder was really showing some results over there in the Asian part of the world. He was doing well, and for him to come here to WCS Montreal and get a round of 8, that's a huge performance. And not to, this is going to sound passive aggressive, it really is not. It's off the backs of like meta, strong execution, good play, good decisions, as opposed to some weird play, which can, get Artosis to be a fanboy of you, but is a little bit less consistent.
Just to touch on that real quick again, the previous series. Like if you think of the old days where the Chinese players had some success, you think of Jim, Maxat, they had success, but it was also of the weird of kind of one-trick build, right? It was Phoenix, Colossus all the way. Time seems like a pretty complete player overall. He's smart, he chooses good strategies when it comes to the opponent he's playing. It's just stuff to get very excited over.
We've cast plenty of games of those guys using those proxy, even like the proxy robos and all of that. We've seen that. So nice to have a player like Time coming in, playing some good, solid, tactical StarCraft. But we got another match coming up. TvT is going to be Semper versus HeroMarine. I think Big Gabe, we've always got good things to say about him. He's a popular streamer. He's a great player in WCS, and he's someone whose name constantly comes up as one of the best in Europe.
He is, and he's had the results. He talked about how the round of 8, I believe, is his first objective, is what he was saying. So doing that will get him to BlizzCon. It's a big result. But I will say he's had a little bit of a tough time TvT here. He lost, actually, a game at least to Hut, but I thought it was a little bit more than that, or perhaps I'm mixing up some names. But I do believe he lost a couple of TvT maps.
I think you're confusing him with Clem. Clem lost to Hut.
Check
But
it out,
he lost against Silky, and then...
Check the ticket.
I'll take
the ticket.
I'll take a look.
Check out the computer.
I'll take a look for you.
It has access to everything.
I know that he finished as runner-up in his group, but he lost against Shadon.
Ooh.
Yeah, like I was saying,
He hasn't lost
TvP, man. TvP is really throwing
hasn't
off.
lost a single TvT over the weekend.
Well, can't argue with that.
I'm an expert, guys. All right, listen, I'm up here for the expert analysis to crunch numbers.
Okay, well,
These numbers might not have happened yet.
His TvT has looked really weak over the weekend. He hasn't dropped a map in it, but it's just not the same vibe that I'm getting from him.
Feeling a lot of judgment, okay? I can't say everything correct. I'm taking my toy. And I still have to be here. I'm actually anchored to the desk.
His TvT is really good. I think when it comes to the European scene, how often do you see him lose a TvT that's not against Utermo? I think against Utermo it's 50-50.
There are like 3 other Terrans in the entire European continent,
but that kind of says enough though, right?
Let's quickly touch on Semper as well before we bring the players to the stage. Just a little. He has made his way through here literally playing just TvT. Both of his groups were all Protoss players.
Check that.
Neeb,
fact check that.
who came with a little bit of difficulty there. You don't have to check that ticket. I know it's good, Jeff.
Is it just me that doesn't know stuff that says everything then? Okay. No, it's a really great result for him as well. And he's French-Canadian, by the way. He's actually a hometown hero.
Yep, he is actually from here. We are going to have the players brought up on the stage now. Smix ready to bring out the hometown hero.
Thank you very much, Nathaniel. I heard you guys in the audience cheering earlier today for Scarlet. I want to hear you guys once again as we bring up yet another Canadian player onto this stage. It is Semper and HeroMarine.
Some good old TvT coming up. Getting through all of our mirror matchups here in the round of 8 as we have plenty of. Don't worry, of course, there will be more in the future as whoever wins this will be playing another TvT. His best finish, Semper, round of 16. Well, this is his chance to change that. And of course, HeroMarine with a top 4 at Valencia, locked in to make it to the global finals.
You're just giving you Thermal the win like that?
Pride.
He's giving you Thermal the win? He's
Huh?
playing at Zerg. Denver.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about mirrors.
Yeah, you said after the winner of this will play another mirror.
No. I said the winner of this.
Mirror. Of this mirror.
The winner of the mirror.
This is a mirror match.
Yeah. I don't know, you guys. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I'm speaking English.
Listen,
All right,
I just
guys,
commentated
let's
a
get
has match, so if you
Okay,
so
let's
excuse
get
me
serious
for not
real
knowing where
quick.
I'm at right now.
One thing that's cool is that these two have never played against each other before in a competitive environment, maybe on the ladder here and there, but they've never had an official encounter. That's not the first time today. Scarlet and Shadow never played each other. Sarah and Jon Snow never played each other. So it's really cool to see these unique matchups in the round of 16. In my eyes, HeroMarine is a big favorite here, but Semper has really impressed us this weekend. I mean, getting a win over Neep, different matchup, but that's still freaking amazing. But Semper is a pretty big underdog, if you ask me.
Yeah, he has
Not
a lot.
known.
He's got a lot he needs to do to win this one in Control.
Yeah, look, I've said more wrong things than right, so I'm a little bit thrown off. But I actually, we've done a lot of Challenger. We saw Semper in there, but I don't know that we've actually seen him in a TvT. It's actually quite rare.
He loses quite often against Masa. Now, Masa is, of course, good.
A very good TvT player.
But I don't put Masa above a HeroMarine or a U-Thermal, so
Nope.
that does worry me a little bit. If I look at those results, if you go through the history of HeroMarine, he almost never loses TvT unless it's U-Thermal. They trade series. Sometimes U-Thermal wins, sometimes HeroMarine wins. If you look at Semper, he drops series here and there against players that are not as good as HeroMarine or U-Thermal.
Yeah, I think this match is going to come down a lot to exploiting the weak moments of TvT, the early game phases where you pick up all the momentum, depending on whether you're going to open up with the proxies. We still see that. That sort of madness from TvP is in TvT all the time. You still have Cyclone play.
Sure.
If Semper has any aggressive builds, I think he really needs to bust them out and try to take control of this, because I don't see him coming ahead of HeroMarine in a macro game. Do you guys agree?
One of my absolute favorite things about the HeroMarine stream is when he analyzes the builds of his opponent.
Oh, yeah.
Because a solid 98% of them are trash.
All right, well, let's see if
Thank
his
you, Kevin.
opponent's game are trash this time around. It's time for HeroMarine versus Semper.
Thank you so much, guys. Really interesting discussion there. Really appreciated Jeff's points to the discussion. But here we go, guys. It's going to be Terran versus Terran. As discussed, my name is Fear Dragon. I'm joined by Zombie Grub. Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce this fine lad up here in the top left-hand corner of the map. Spawning as the blue Terran player from Rise Esports, he is Semper.
In the bottom right, hailing from Germany, it is the red Terran. From Mouse Esports, it is HeroMarine. There's a French joke there that I don't understand.
I know. That's why I feel a lot of these signs right now. Fun fact, though, Semper is not only just a hometown hero, he's even attending University of Montreal, trying to become a lawyer. He's actually graduating this semester before he goes on and moves on to doing lawyerish things.
Does the law.
He does the law.
Yeah.
He has to take the bar exam and stuff, but he's going to do the law soon.
Yeah. Yep, so it's, I mean, I don't know if he's planning on playing it. Usually when our players move on, you know, they either make the retirement post, maybe they don't, maybe they go into school, maybe they don't. It's always like they either are kind of playing StarCraft or occasionally they'll come back and play StarCraft.
I think he's going to do the casual, like, be in school, probably play some StarCraft for fun and that kind of stuff, but it's going to be a little bit less focused or dedicated. So this is a really big event for Semper. If he can make an even deeper run from here, if he can upset someone like HeroMarine, that would be massive for him. And the one thing is, TvT is such a rare matchup for Semper to play in general in the kind of competitive circuit, but he does actually play a lot of the ladder. He plays a decent amount of TvTs there, and I've actually been able to witness a lot of his TvTs. The one thing I really like about it is I think he has very good positional awareness, which I think is very important in TvT. He does sometimes fall behind in other capacities, though.
The thing is, he's facing someone who, like, there's not really a clash of styles here that I'm like, Semper will execute the two-base all-in, and it's HeroMarine's time to test. Like, it's not really, I feel like what Semper is good at, HeroMarine is actually just better. And I don't mean not to, you know, throw mud at Semper because he's a very good player. He's having a very good tournament. This is the tournament to do well with the crowd behind him. But when I mentioned on the desk, you know, like, and there's not much been happening, by the way, even though they opened up starting off on that one base, it might change soon. I mentioned that like 5%. It was more like at face value, up like opponent to opponent. Hold on here. Okay, Cyclone. like 5% just from the get-go. But if Semper can show a particularly good first game and actually get some momentum, then I feel like it actually could change, and like it just like it just increases, exponentially increases as he gains the momentum. But that's a tall order. This is not going to do very much with HeroMarine going for the Cyclone this fast, and they both are moving on, getting their command centers. We got a drop of both, like 2 Cyclone openers are pretty safe, and also some decent harassment. So I don't know if Semper's going to have anything to throw at HeroMarine before that. I don't think so.
Yeah, we'll see how long Semper decides to stay out on the map with his units, his Reapers, and the Hellions. Because if he does spot out the second Cyclone, sometimes that can be a little bit of a tell, I think. But he's got some units at home. He's got his own Cyclone back at home. And we see HeroMarine starting to move across the map, trying to get some scouting information. Semper is going to catch these units, and with the additional damage from that Hellion, he's going to be able to pick off 1 Reaper. Doesn't quite get the second Reaper. It's going to get into the main base. Spots the tech lab on the starport. Spots the tech lab being built on the factory, and knows everything that's going on.
He could have temporarily faked Banshee Cloak. He like just barely had on gas, but with the Cyclone follow-up, I wouldn't really check him for long. So the Raven's gonna pop out. Maybe it'll choose to help out versus the Cyclones. It actually might have to help against the Cyclones. There's only 1 here in the main base for Semper. His tank is a little bit of a dangerous tool to use against the double Cyclone drop.
Uh-oh, 1 Cyclone getting taken out very quickly here for Semper, and you were talking about how there's really not a whole lot else here. There's a lockout on that Raven, taking some damage. Auto Turtle still thrown down, and not really accomplishing a whole lot. Reaper getting taken out as well. The Marines are gonna just kind of go in. They do manage to snipe off 1 of the Cyclones, but good amount of damage done there for HeroMarine.
That's the scary thing, is that if he had microed that second Cyclone, it's not very helpful. It was so low. But this 2 Cyclone drop, it can definitely take out a tank if it's not well protected. But luckily, with sniping that 1 Cyclone, Semper is going to be able to defend without taking too much damage. It would have been, the worst case would have been losing the tank or the Raven, I feel. A couple SCVs isn't so bad, or his own Cyclone.
Okay, well, Raven coming out as well for HeroMarine, and Semper was able to keep his own Raven alive, so we've seen how much that can play a big effect in those engagements in TvT, throwing down those kind of interference matrices, disabling siege tanks, or heck, even medevacs sometimes, can really play a big impact. But for the most part, both these players are just going to get up their tank counts, get up stim, get up their engineering bays, and start playing a little bit more macro-focused.
Yeah. I mean, Fracture it's somehow made its way into the first game of another like mirror matchup, which is just like, I mean, I understand why. Like, they both can be comfortable on it. It's just like, in that TVC earlier, I was like, dang, you're just asking for a knife fight, right?
In a best of 5, I guess it's one of the situations where you only get 1 veto per player, and if one player feels a little more comfortable on it, it makes it there.
Yeah, but it's like, it is so short that in TvT as well, when you have that, the idea of TvT is it can be 1 base for a long time, or it can just go straight to 3 bases, which is kind of what HeroMarine's trying to do here. It's such a scary map, but no really abusive tank pushes to happen anytime soon, so they're just both kind of ramping up to their bio.
Yeah, I do want to note that Semper's stim did come out a good bit earlier. It's partially because I think he delayed his engineering bays a little bit longer. No, the engineering bay is about the same time. It looks like the research at least. But he doesn't have the second engineering bay. He only has 1. That is Semper does. So he's going to be falling behind in the upgrades, but he will have a faster stim if he can try and capitalize on that.
It's difficult, like even with like 20 seconds, that sounds like a lot, but unless you're constantly poking and prodding, it's really not. But Semper is the one that's still committed on more like 2 bases. I think he eventually will throw down a 3rd, but he does want to find a good position, and if HeroMarine is not mindful of his army move, Semper's army move, and he could find an abusive position. As we saw there, HeroMarine has his own 3rd CC, but he's smart enough to know that he has to kind of wait to see how Semper is going to control the game before he can just step out on location.
Yeah, you were talking about a narrow window. The double Cyclones are poking forward over here, spotting, wait a second, no 3rd base. Semper is already out in the middle of the map with stim finished up now. He might be taking some damage back at home, but he's gonna have the potential to do some damage as he's leading a bit in army supply. He's gonna need to do some damage now.
I thought maybe there's something in the bunker, and it wasn't. That's gonna be a lot of SCV deaths. That was a very awkward timing for Semper, who wanted to pounce. Actually, he does lose everything in that drop, but that's not gonna be enough to break it, I don't think.
Double interference matrix disables both his siege tanks. His siege tanks siege up. 1 of his own siege tanks gets disabled, 2 of them actually, and we end up seeing HeroMarine retreating back to the high ground. SCV's being pulled off the line, but the Marines have all gone down. It's just the siege tanks. They're killing off some of these units, but it looks like HeroMarine is gonna be able to clean house.
That was pretty close, though. I mean,
it got scary.
There was like 3 tanks at like 20 health there, and Semper is not quite done. He still has that army lead, even though he's down in the the upgrade. He also has combat shields substantially faster.
Wow.
And actually, that's going to be a huge deal here, especially because he did just take out so many of HeroMarine's tanks.
Needs another 20 seconds before combat shields finishes up, so hopefully he doesn't push in a little too fast here, but he's starting to poke forward. He's starting to get close. He's loaded up all of his units in the medevacs, and HeroMarine has a few Marines in the main base, but not that much.
Yeah, this is Semper's time, and he's got to go for it. He's on top of the production. He's going to be able to get a couple SCDs as they're pulled forward. The Raven cannot help here. It already helped once, but the Concave might just be a little too good for HeroMarine, even without his own combat shield, and he does hold.
Interesting. We already have a siege tank siege up on the low ground here for Semper as well. He's going to unload one of his other siege tanks. That siege tank gets disabled, though, and it's going to get taken out. The medevac's forced back, and he loses the medevac with the siege tank inside.
This is... The worst thing about this really is that Semper is so behind on that 2-2. He actually has workers, he has the control of the map too, so he should be able to, well, I think he should have been able to set his third CC down in location a little bit faster as well, but those upgrades are going to be so substantial. He's kind of on the way to +1 armor, but just, he's going to be behind 1-1 in Marine Wars. That's devastating.
Yeah, he's going to have maybe one more window to do something where they're going to be on those 1-1 even upgrades. But after that, he's really got to kind of turtle back, I think, a little bit and just find ways to buy time and make sure that HeroMarine can't just force massive engagements with a double upgrade advantage.
Yeah, HeroMarine playing very safe, getting that Sentence Tower. It is going to be taken out. That's kind of that's a worthwhile spot to take for a little while. But yeah, he has to be able to retreat with all of his units too. Otherwise, it's not really worth getting rid of the tank.
Siege Tank Semper is actually doing a lot of damage here.
Yeah.
Wow, he's going to start continuing to do a lot of damage here. +1 armor also finishes up here for Semper. The Marine, I mean, just the trades there for Semper were kind of ridiculously in his favor.
Yeah, there was that weird thing where you thought you had enough in the first get-go, and you're like, wait, no, I need more.
Let me just keep rallying units in gradually.
Yeah, exactly. So it was very, very awkward. But those upgrades, like, even if that did more damage, even if it, like, temporarily stopped the SCDs from mining, that still wasn't really enough. But TvT is a game of comebacks. You know, one person suddenly gets a decent tank count, they turtle until they're maxed, and then it's not quite fair game with the upgrades, but it's definitely a game where you can still outposition your opponent. And as we get to the fourth bases on Fracture, even with sensor towers, it's going to be hard to keep track of all the army movement. I think they'll eventually get 2 sensor towers if we even get that far.
Okay, but Semper loaded up with another massive medevac drop. And when you go to 3 bases, this is when you start to spread yourself out a lot more and the opportunities start to open up. Semper going to try and seize one, scans, unloads his units. He's got a lot of Marines. He's got a siege tank in the mix as well. And he's going to try and stim forward to take out some of these Marines, but I think this is going to be a bit of a dangerous spot for Semper.
You know, I actually really want Semper to stop taking tanks with him. One tank generally doesn't help with these type of engagements because the concave of the defender is like often like really good. This is a bit awkward. Like, Semper is just like really trying to out-rally HeroMarine's like attention, like multitasking.
Yeah,
it's almost working.
I think that has always been his big strong suit, but oh boy, here we go. Now the siege tank by itself, gonna get taken out. And like you said, Semper is bleeding out a lot of tanks with his harassment when it is really mostly the Marines getting the damage on outside of that one instance that we were talking about.
It's not just that the one tank is a little bit useless, it's that he could have had maybe like, what, 4 or 5 tanks defensively so that when eventually he gets pushed back by the Marines, you know, he can maybe even like kind of initiate a base trade if it was really desperate situation, or he at least have some type of defense, right? But with only 2 tanks, this is something that HeroMarine's going to continue to pressure.
And now HeroMarine is finally the one on the offensive, sieging up those siege tanks gradually closer and closer to Semper, starting to just take out the oxygen from right underneath him. He's losing some of the Marines on the right-hand side as well, but we see that HeroMarine is starting to stim up the ramp, taking out those Marines for Semper. Semper just doesn't have a frontline buffer anymore, and it looks like Big Gabe is going to be taking game number 1.
Yeah. The upgrades are going to be substantial, and even though the supplies were like, he was keeping his head above water in the supply, it didn't actually look that terrible. When all of it came together, his lack of tanks, his lack of medevacs, because I think 3 or 4 of them were still flying back to his army, yeah, he was toppled. And that is a situation where if he had saved those, again, like 3 or 4, I don't remember exactly, tanks, and they were there, I don't think HeroMarine pushes up the ramp. The game still continues, even though he's in a lead.
I know, I actually really agree with that. That's the nice thing when you have a lot of those siege tanks, even if you only have a small little Marine buffer, the tanks just do so much damage if the Marines are trying to push up your ramp that you can just defend and have enough time to get that rallying of reinforcements and buy time when you're down on those upgrades. But what I did like about Semper in that game was what you were kind of talking about. He was trying to almost just out multi-prong, out harass HeroMarine, try and pull him apart from a lot of different angles, which is what I really think that has always been Semper's strong suit. Even since 2013, when he was really starting to come up as a player, that's been his biggest strength, but he was just, I feel like, a hair shy of really being able to make it work versus HeroMarine.
Of these two players, it is more likely that HeroMarine will depend on safety and defense and going for 3 bases. He also can do like aggressive 2-base attacks or very dedicated 1 base, but he's still more likely to do that. I wouldn't mind if Semper did the same thing, because there were some moments you're like, well, hold on here. And I actually wouldn't mind if Semper did try one of these games in a best of 5 to also go for 3rd CC and try and not take any damage. But we did see that HeroMarine is able to get this, that, and the other with a double Cyclone drop. So he was always like in a fairly okay position. Just that one moment with the push down the natural, that was the scariest moment for me when all the tanks died for HeroMarine. That was close.
Yeah, really, really weird moment. And the interference matrices are also just so odd sometimes when you watch them, because the siege tanks are just taken out of the fight for a little bit, but then they actually do start to come back if the fight goes on long enough. And of course, HeroMarine also doing a good job. He unsieges one of the siege tanks, or tries to get rid of one of them and move it further back. It all just ends up being a very, very dicey engagement. It's really scary, I think, as a Terran player, because you're not really sure where things are going to go.
Yeah. It's TvT, though. Where are those medevacs bursting in?
That is the TvT life. You know, Zergs have to deal with Ling Bane Wars. Protons have to deal with the Adepts. Terran, they got their own problems. But here we go. We're going to be starting up here in the top left-hand corner of the map. Top of the blue Terran player, once again from Rise Esports. He is Semper.
It's an awfully STV, man. In the bottom right, as the red Terran, he is HeroMarine.
Semper moving around in the bottom side of that map, looking to bring the attack to his opponent's side of the map.
Yeah, I gotta say though, this is a really dangerous thing to do. Like the factory expand has become more popular amongst Terrans, and I think it's actually what they both did last game. And then HeroMarine is also the guy who, I kind of like just said it, like he would be the one to be the defensive, safe, cautionary one. And a factory expand helps you a lot versus this, or just a 1-base build, which is exactly what he's doing. Just right off the bat, and this is actually such a faraway proxy that I wonder if it is the Reaper. It's not, because there's no second SCV, right? So this is actually kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But regardless, like proxy, basically the 1-base aggression is going to be as substantial, with HeroMarine also doing his 1-base.
Yeah, do you feel like it's even very common to go for many early game scouts and concern yourself with proxies in TvT, or is it just something you sort of, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you have to if you're going to go for Run Expand.
Yeah.
But if you don't, then you don't have to, which is why HeroMarine's not really bothering.
All right, well, HeroMarine's starting to send out that first scouting worker now. Probably just gonna go straight across the map. Reactor coming down next to a factory.
So here's the trick to what like you just asked me, right? Is that if you assume that they're gonna 2-Rax Reaper and that's the only proxy they'll do, and they do something like Semper's doing, and you're like, well, I'm good because I like didn't buy any other scouting because I have my own stuff. Like then this is the type of attack that Semper might actually find some success with if HeroMarine was a never ever scout and just like, you know, prepare for like the only the Reapers, but it's clearly not. Gonna be swapping the barracks over to the factory, but HeroMarine is gonna get some intel. He won't find the proxies, but if he goes in the main base, he might be able to see how much gas is still taking.
He might be able to do more than just go into the main base and find some information. He's got a Reaper, and he's going to be able to get some damage done. Semper, you can wall off all you want, but the Reaper does not give a damn about that wall. It's going to hop straight up into the main base, and he's just going to rely on SCV pulls. There's actually going to be no units there to help defend.
Okay, Cyclone does start up, but after a Hellion, which is not nearly as helpful versus the Cyclones is versus the Reaper.
Ooh.
Yeah, this Reaper should never be surrounded if things go exactly as planned. Semper's gonna lift the barracks. He's floating that on over. His attack is almost ready to go, but he is losing so many Reaper SCVs on the side of the map, but he doesn't really have, this is not the game where he is the one paying attention to the defense, like not losing any SCVs. He needs to actually win this game with the Cyclones.
Okay, well, Cyclones, I think, are starting to make their way over and trying to do some damage. Okay, we got the barracks getting some high ground vision. That is actually pretty important. You want that high ground vision so these Cyclones can start whittling away. Almost gets a Hellion. That's not bad. Might be able to get a Marine here. If you can actually pick off a lot of these Marines, the bunker's not going to have too many units, but one Marine, or sorry, just the Reaper actually gets into that bunker.
This is already looking quite poor. There's actually... It's already looking quite poor for Semper as HeroMarine builds a bunker in Semper's main base. I don't think he's bothered paying attention to the defense. So that's gonna finish.
Yeah, that SCV could have actually been killed off by another SCV very easily, so.
Yeah, that's really awkward. Semper's pulling SCVs. He's gonna try and bust. He's actually gonna get the lift off on the barracks, and that's one avenue to get into the main.
He's also in range of that tech lab. He could shut that down.
Whoa.
Delay things. He kills off one of the cycles. The bunker has to be immediately repaired, but Semper also has some repair available from his own SCVs.
He's not gonna be able to get full surround every time he goes up the ramp, though, which is always awkward. Whereas HeroMarine should.
Oh, he's just gonna walk straight past. He loses one of the cycles. Second cycle gets surrounded. A brilliant play there from HeroMarine. And there's only one cyclone left over. It may take out that siege. No, it barely misses that as well. And HeroMarine successfully defends the cheese.
GG. I'm not. This is not where I'm like, well, Semper, like, clearly you shouldn't have proxied. Like, what are you doing? I actually thought that was a fine enough proxy if HeroMarine wasn't already so good. If he wasn't already kind of expecting and prepared to be a little cheese out of this series.
Yeah, it's always a little bit interesting. Semper definitely had a reputation last year and even just earlier this year, I would say, where he was only the macro player. I know other players would just say, well, yeah, my biggest advantage versus Semper is I know he's only going to play macro games. And when he tries to play a cheese game, he's not very good at it. He's gotten a lot better at it, but I think that it's still not exactly anywhere where I would call it a strong suit of him. So some of the execution you kind of saw not quite working out for Semper.
Yeah, well, this next game could be the last one. He's changed it up, so he went for like the 2-base aggression on a map that was well suited for it. Then he goes for the proxy because just throw it out, try it, right? Maybe HeroMarine misreads or he's a little cocky, right? He's a little too confident. In the third game, what do? I mean, go
like
for the
1-1 on.
I think you go for the macro game. Actually, I think you try. Acid Plant's coming up next. That's a decent, plain old map. Sure, why not try it?
Yeah, should have a lot of experience on this map. HeroMarine, of course, also going to have quite a bit of experience on this map as well. It's tried and true. Not a lot has changed, but here we go. We're going to find out where things head on over in this next game. But, I mean, what do you feel like Semper has got to do with that macro game in like the longer term? Because one of the things that happened in that first game was that he was falling behind on upgrades and stuff, even if he was looking to go toward those like mid-game pushes.
Yeah, that was because he was doing the push though, and I feel like it's sucky. Like, HeroMarine is not a perfect player, and I feel like maybe I'm kind of like setting him up to be. He's not. Like, there are ways to assume that he's going to be defensive and greedy and kind of be a little bit better at the greed yourself.
Yeah.
But HeroMarine's also just a smart player. He's constantly on the map with something, and that's the most important thing about TvT is that you can see the slight changes. Like, oh, they did sit down a third CC. Oh, they did sit down more barracks. Oh, they set down both engineering bays, you know? So it's really hard for me to say what Semper should do other than just like play better generally. That's just not good analysis.
Just play like sterile.
Yes, thank you.
Seems to work for him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it looks like the game is getting loaded up, so we should be hopping into it pretty shortly. Remember that HeroMarine currently sitting up 2-0. This is a best of 5, so he is one game away from making it to that round of 8. He's already qualified for BlizzCon at this point, but he would love to make a deep run into this tournament to kind of solidify his confidence moving into that global finals later on during the year.
Here we go. It's going to be on Acid Plants, and it could be the last game. In the bottom right, he really needs your cheers, guys. It is the Blue Terran Semper.
And spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, the red Terran player sitting up 2-0. He is HeroMarine. There is one thing I do want to credit Semper to, is that he is also a player that I think tends to play better as he is behind. When he is ahead, actually, in a series, usually that's when I'm a little more concerned. Semper will start making more mistakes, or if it's an even game. When he's behind is usually when we actually see a lot of comebacks. I know he's known by a lot of other players for having like a lot of resilience in individual games, as well as even just in a series. So I'm not counting Semper out just yet. I think he can at least maybe try and put one on the board in this game. I think he's actually got his best shot in this game.
Yeah.
But it's still looking pretty grim right now.
It is one of those situations where, I had my whole spiel at the beginning of the series, but at this point, if Semper were to win this game, like, that's great, don't get me wrong. I still feel like HeroMarine just be like, shake his head, he kind of mutters some like things like, oh, that was silly, and then
doesn't quite seize the momentum there.
And he'd still win, right? Like, it would be different if it was a shock to the HeroMarine system as he lost the first game in a matchup he's very good at against a player he thinks he's going to win against. But no, it definitely changed. Like, we've seen series come back 3-2, and that would be the beginning. And it's also maybe something a little bit to do with figuring out what does work against HeroMarine, because again, he's tried, at this point, he might be trying 3 different things. We don't see any proxies. We do see that he's not going for the one to expand like HeroMarine is, but that doesn't mean he's dedicating, everything to aggression.
Okay, well, seen a couple that SCV, I guess, just move around the map, trying to get some scouting information, like you said. Reaper making its way across the map as well. You see that HeroMarine is very wary about the proxy shenanigan potential, because I think he, as you were saying, knows that can get into a bit of a scary spot. So really doesn't want to take too many risks.
As the plan is really, you're not going to, funnily enough, like the Dreamcatcher game, there was a chance that HeroMarine is like, well, you're going to tier axe Reaper me, and he just like blind counters that. But as the plan's so bad for Reapers, that there's the issue of that, like you don't want to tier axe Reaper, but there's also the issue of potentially like having problems getting scouting. But since both of them are going to expand, so we see a factory expand, it's actually HeroMarine that does the proxy.
Yeah, proxying that starport is going to be able to put on some nice and early aggression that Semper may not see coming. That starport being so close by air distance is going to allow him to get over to Semper's main base very, very quickly.
Yes, it's going to so he's going to do a Hellion drop, and the Hellions reach the starport quick enough, and then the medevac proxy makes it 20 seconds faster, and then you can also immediately follow up with a Liberator. At that time, these guys are very good with their timings. Semper would be like, okay, there's a proxy somewhere, but you still don't know where, and this is all behind a faster command center. So HeroMarine has gotten away with the faster command center. He's also going to be the one applying that pressure. And while Semper is going for something that could eventually apply a lot of pressure with double cyclones, he's going to be hit first. So we'll see what the timing looks like. It's actually a Liberator and then Hellions and the Natural.
Okay, Cyclone going to be able to push back the Reapers and the Hellion there. So Semper buying a little bit of space on one side. He's actually going to get over to the right-hand side. He's going to spot out that starport. And I mean, I feel like when you spot out the starport, you usually know what's going to be coming.
Yeah, Liberator is such a popular move, right? But he did see the Hellions, and he might try and keep tabs on them, make sure they don't go over to the right side. But he's going to see the Liberator pop out because that starport's not going to die fast enough. But he's managed to deflect the Hellions. I was worried he's going to send everything to kill the starport. And he's going to see it, confirm it's a Liberator, followed by medevac.
Okay. Well, the double cyclones are already in position. He can immediately lock onto that Liberator and pick it off if he's paying attention. There it is. There's the lock on and kind of gradual, slow damage being done there. He might have to pull workers for a little bit. I think he's actually losing 3 workers, a few more than I thought, but still gets to pick off the Liberator, which is a big win.
We got the double cyclone follow-up from HeroMarine as well. So, I mean, Semper with so many cyclones, if HeroMarine were to ever stop being aggressive, as a medevac pops out, and he has the Hellion drop as a potential, if he ever had to stop being aggressive, Semper's cyclone count would be scary, but with his own, it's not such a big deal.
This is interesting, though. The cyclone's going to be able to push back all those units, and the tech lab that was being built is going to get canceled here. That's kind of annoying, because that was a bit of a gas investment. Actually, not even getting it canceled there, just killed off.
Yeah. I was going to see the drop, right? Oh, I was
HeroMarine just stopping right in front of me. He's like, hey, I actually know that you have units there. He's gonna try and bait it away so he can easily move through. That's such a smart move.
That was cute. That was really cute, and it might get him a lot of kills because I don't know what's in the main base. Quick check. There's not in here.
A lot. In fact, there is Stim there as well, and I don't think that there are many units. Okay, well, it's just the Hellions, I guess. It's not really gonna be that scary for that, but it's gonna be scary for the workers.
Yep, very scary as they do line up in their retreats. All the units are actually out on the map. For Semper, HeroMarine just, is going to make them die even faster with the help of the medevac. So this is exactly what HeroMarine wanted. Yeah. And that was a nice pull away with the Reaper.
A lot of damage being done here. And, well, Semper is trying to move across the map. There were some SCVs pulled there for HeroMarine. He's looking to get a bit aggressive on his own right. And I guess trying to move across the map with some of those SCVs and the Cyclones, but realizing they can just pull back. He's done a lot of damage. He just needs to sit back and defend because he's up 41 workers to 27 at this point.
Well, this is the Cyclones killing a couple of HeroMarines and workers were exactly what I was talking about, but that was, he's now up to production, his third CC. SCV pulls when you're only down 1 or 2 Cyclones are actually very effective, and he would have been fine, but at least it was something in return. And now it's actually it's suddenly too many Cyclones. 1 or 2, the SCV pull's fine, but 2 or 3 more, and you actually need your own Cyclones to help out here, or a tank on the high ground.
All right, well, Seachank is about to pop out here for HeroMarine. The command center is getting focus fire down. The Cyclones forcing the lift off. The SCV is being pulled off the line. The tank has now popped and has the ability to siege up if he wants to and is sieging up there. Oh, another one of the cycles going down. The command center is getting focus fire down. Once again, Semper out for blood there, but is going to get forced back.
That was really scary. That command center went to the red, I'm pretty sure.
Got a little bit dicey. All right, Semper moves forward. He sees that, yes, in fact, there is still that siege tank siege up there. He cannot continue to push forward there. He gets up his own third base, has caught up a lot in that work account during all of that, and seems like he may have been able to stabilize a bit.
That's really nice. He's going to have the faster 13 on location now. He does have all of his bios set up. You know, he's got the upgrades. Not quite to a lot of medevacs, but he's starting to really get the production up. And it is, we didn't really get to talk about this because it was so much about the Cyclones and Semper being able to use them. It's great that he did, by the way, because otherwise they look kind of lame as more tanks grow. But it is mech versus bio, and they both realize what they're doing at this point.
Yeah, Semper gonna try and dive in on top of these siege tanks. They aren't supported by a whole lot, but siege tanks do a lot of damage to those Cyclones. Those all get picked off, and they are out of this game. HeroMarine gonna be able to establish that third base with no problem.
Oh, is he really gonna do this? He's adding on infantry upgrades. HeroMarine is styling a little bit.
All right, looked like he was getting ready for those, that mech composition, had the multiple factors and everything, but there's the tech lab on the barracks. He's getting up stim. I mean, this is gonna throw Semper for a bit of a loop, I think.
Gosh, they had deja vu from last year's Montreal, but like this is, you know, GSL showed this recently. I think it was, gosh, who was it actually? Gumiho? Oh man, it was against Gumiho, but it was TvT and maybe it was Maro. Gosh, man.
I think it was Maru, actually. I think it was Maru. I do remember that conversation we had about it.
That was a golden moment to sound smart, and I just utterly failed. But the point is,
Maru. Don't doubt yourself.
Thank you. But the point is, like, this is why I'm saying it's styling. It's not particularly popular yet. Maybe if it is actually good. But if you're gonna be confident it's up 2-0, it's in a good position in the game, a good enough position to try this out. But it can be. I mean, it's gonna be difficult to execute. I'm really interested to see how this is gonna go.
Yeah, one kind of interesting thing that also happened in that GSL game was that you go for stim and then you end up going for combat shields. Despite the fact that you're going to be on this 3-base economy, you'll really only had that one tech lab, I guess. So it does mean that stuff is still going to come out a bit delayed, but oh my god, the Hellion just roast this entire army of Semper and doesn't really get anything done with it.
That was an odd push out, honestly, because he didn't have medevacs at all.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really, so there's already a couple things that like they're awkward as you realize all of a sudden your opponent is going for bio. Marauders just don't have like that DPS. If you ever see someone going Marauders and like a Marine tank versus Marine tank, like I feel like you should slap them. I honestly do.
Zombie Grub, I just want to put this in perspective. HeroMarine went from mech into bio.
Right.
And he's gonna have faster upgrades than Semper, who just went into bio.
All right, that's ouchy.
How does that happen? Oh my god.
I was gonna note that, and then I saw the extra upgrades, and I was like, hold on, this is more important. But they scanned each other, but they actually scanned. Oh no. Oh, Semper's gonna wish he had scanned the main. Anyways. So it's already bad enough that you have Marauders against what is eventually going to be pure Marine, and that's just better. But what's really awkward, and there's no tanks, by the way, for Semper either. What's extra awkward in this game is that Semper was going to, you know, maybe apply some aggression with the bio, but then he was going to go into air domination. And if you do that against a pure mech player and they just don't have air, it actually is such a momentum killer for the mech player.
Especially with those Liberators and everything, you push back your opponents.
Against Marines, especially if you don't have your own decent tank count, it's not the same. They'll sacrifice 10 Marines to kill 2 Liberators and be like, okay, I guess that's good enough for me.
Marine spots out 2 Hellbats and a medevac. This is still just being sold as mech right now. HeroMarine finding some value for his remaining mech units wherever he can and just continuing to push Semper down the wrong path.
This is it's going to be such an interesting game, though, because as much as I'm, like, making this out to be, like, a really drastically bad game, and it is, because, like, Semper still has no idea what's going to happen to him. The eventual thing that happens in TvT nowadays is like you get to 12, 13 minutes, you both have tried doom dropping each other and it doesn't work. You do eventually go into extra starports, and you do eventually go into the Viking Liberator control. But going back to the quality of the units once HeroMarine fully transitions, that's the really big issue.
And under the assumption that you have those siege tanks you were talking about, right? So you can kind of push back those Marines and allow yourself to get up those high numbers. But right now, Semper is a little bit further behind on that. As we can see, actually, he only has 4 siege tanks right now to the, I think, 9 or so that we have from HeroMarine.
Yeah. I mean, it's at least some tanks, all right? Like,
it is something. He's actually starting that tank production.
Because if he had like 7 tanks and he pounced on HeroMarine's push or him being defended, like either one, with 7 tanks and a Liberator advantage, like maybe he still has a shot, but I think now I realize, like, hey, that's a lot of Marines. Hey, hold on here.
He might be noticing, you know, you got combat shield. You don't usually get combat shield with mech.
But let's see how Semper's going to handle this. I think he needs to, I actually think he needs to off the tech labs, but maybe defensively he'll be okay.
Unsieges, resieges, a Semper going to be trying to take the fight over here, and he does seem to have quite a few bio units. The Vikings seem to be winning out on Semper's side by a large margin because he was going for the air domination. He still has a few siege tanks left over, but is there enough on the ground to actually maintain this lead?
I feel like if Semper had pulled back with that, it was Marauders, which again aren't great in this scenario anymore. If he had pulled back, he still has a decent line of defense, and then he is winning the Viking Liberator War, but you know what would be better than having 10 Marauders is actually 5 extra tanks in this position.
Yeah, this is a really, really scary moment because as soon as HeroMarine realizes, he scans and says, wait, you don't have an army here. Liberators siege up, but the Marines are going to make very short work of those. Vikings having to land, but I think that this is going to be a bit too much. HeroMarine charges forward into the round of 8, 3-0 for Big Gabe.
Oh, it was a fun series. I'm really happy we got to see another mech in a bio game. So thank you, HeroMarine for that. But Semper, I think he had obviously Montreal has been great for him, and then he was able to show some really cool flexibility.
Yeah.
And his potentially last big showing at WCS.
Well, still a very, very great event for Semper as he goes out and possibly goes into half retirement. But HeroMarine, with a really, really great run, is going to continue on to the round of 8. And we'll see how far that man can go as he has been playing so well. Take it away, Sue, as we want to hear from the man himself.
Thank you very much, Fear Dragon. Congratulations, HeroMarine. You've had such amazing consistency this year. 3 straight back-to-back round of 8s for you in the WCS. What does it mean for you to be in the top 8 once again at this last WCS event?
This time around, top 8 was my main goal because that would secure my BlizzCon spot. Things went very fortunate. I qualified for BlizzCon after the round of 16, so I didn't really care afterwards anymore, but I feel like my bracket is pretty good, so I'm focusing a lot on this tournament, of course, and afterwards, BlizzCon.
Speaking of your bracket, I know when I spoke to you yesterday that we had talked about how you've been improving at each WCS event that you've been competing in, from round of 16, from round of 8 to round of 4, and maybe the grand finals this event. So you just mentioned you like your bracket. What do you feel about your chances of doing that?
I think getting to the semifinals is pretty doable. However, it depends on the opponent in the semifinals. It can be a Zerg, it can be a Protoss, it can be a Terran. So I can't really say if I'm going to win there. But I feel like I can win against all 3 of them.
Last question before I let you go. I know you said that getting to the semifinals should be doable. When I spoke to Time right before this match, he said that he's been training his TvT by talking to specials. So is that something that worries you at all, or are you pretty confident in your TvT?
What worries me is more that he plays from Korea and gets a lot of good TvT practice, which is not very easy to find in Europe, let's put it that way. Because of that, I'm a little scared, but I played against him a couple of times and it went pretty good, so I think I'm gonna take that serious too.
Sounds great. Well, congratulations again with that. Big Gabe is moving on to the round of 8.
Congratulations, Big Gabe, taking it home with the 3-0. Styling a little bit in that last game with the mech into bio. Completely unnecessary overkill, but hey, when you're that far ahead, why not show a little love for the fans? And he's going to move on.
Impressive performance, and that's 3 Germans in the round of 8. And it's just something about that kind of French-Canadian soil that really unifies the German players and gets them those results. They do really well when battling French people.
Do you agree, Rotterdam?
Amazing year for HeroMarine so far. If you look at the performance he's had throughout all the stops, Leipzig was only round of 16, but he lost against Neep. Obviously, no shame in that. And at both Valencia and Austin, the only player that he lost to was Cerro. I mean, damn, what a year this has been for HeroMarine, where in 2016, he obviously had that great performance back then in Montreal, but 2017 wasn't really his year. And that's when he said he was going to take it easier and focus on streaming a little bit more. Well,
good for him.
Turns out he became very, very good after focusing on streaming. I think this was a pretty straightforward best of 5. Semper has had an awesome run this event, and Semper can be very proud of his run, but HeroMarine seemed to be the better player.
Yeah, fantastic play by him, and so he will move on into the round of 8. As we're looking at that bracket in just a moment, he was talking about the Korean ladder practice that Time gets. We'll see how HeroMarine fares against him. As he said, his opponents that he practices against, Roddy, It just doesn't help him that much with TvT.
I had the bracket wrong. You said it was going to be a TvT in the next round.
It is.
It is. I forgot, yeah.
No, obviously that's right. If you think of the European Terrans, Uthermal's the first one you think of. You can mention Clem and Sol, and then it gets, you know, it starts dropping off.
The Muslim.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ben is great. No, Ben is great, but Ben is not here, you know, and that...
You're right.
A lot of people spamming that demo
He's
live
here.
on the chat for you.
Oh, he's always
He's
here.
always here.
But you know how they say there are levels to these games, and there are very, very few Terrans of the level of HeroMarine and Uthermal in the European scene. However, I agree with HeroMarine. He felt very confident going into that series against Diamond. If you ask me, he's a big favorite in that one too.
Cool. Well, we've only got a few more matches left here in the round of 16 at the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series. We hope you've been enjoying today's broadcast. We'll be getting into our last couple of matches in just a moment. We'll be right back after this break.
Cool.